Okay, well, I think some of you actually did check the blog and watch the second to last chapter of Swear to Howdy. I think I heard from Kelsey, Chase, Lalo, Greta, I think. Can't remember who else. I have to look back. But I was impressed to see people who actually wanted to know more about it. So I'm actually going to read the last chapter. And again, let me know if you ended up watching this video or if what you thought of the last chapter. It's only 6 pages long, so it's going to be kind of a short one. So we'll see what you think happened with Joey, his dad, Rusty, their family, with Sissy, and how if she forgave her brother for the situation. So here it is, Sentenced, Chapter 13, final chapter of Swear to Howdy with 5B. Living next door to the Bankses was tough after all that. Awkward. And I wound up playing that night back in my head over and over and over. Maybe I should have done things different. Maybe Joey really wasn't going to pull the trigger after all. Or maybe he did really believe he'd have been better off dead. He said both those things inside an hour, so it's hard to know. Either way, he told me I'd broken a sacred pact, and we were through. For a while, our parents had the same problem Joey and me had had. Should they tell the police? Or should they keep it within our families? After all, Joey's mama said, everyone whose business it is already knows what happened. But after a couple of days, it became real clear that it wouldn't stay a secret for long. Sissy was madder'n a wet hen. At me, at Joey, at Mama, and Dad for not being mad at me. There was no way that girl was going to keep her mouth shut about what we had done. Besides, Mama said when she and Dad told me that they and Joey's mama had decided to tell the police, there's nothing they can do to you that's worse than the sentence you've already got. Amen to that. Part of me wanted them to toss us in the slammer and throw away the key. Would have beat feeling the way I'd been feeling, that's for sure. But after they heard the whole story, the police just let us go. Nobody was pressing charges, they said. Nobody outside our families had been hurt. They wound up shutting the case a lot quicker than we even opened it. At least, legally, that's what happened. School was a different story. Word got out all right, and kids took to treating us like we were diseased. They didn't know what to say, so they avoided us altogether, which was harder to take than if they'd said mean things to us. So instead of going to jail, Joey and me had the back-to-back tortures of staying in school and living right next door to each other. School, I could have handled if I had Joey at my side, but he'd have nothing to do with me. So I spent my days alone, wondering if things would ever get better, or if Joey was right and this really was just a miserable earth. My counselor said that eventually Joey would come around, maybe even thank me, but he never did. And it made me wonder what kind of true friend actually meant. Had I messed up everything for good, breaking the pact? But how could a true friend let things go on like that? I tried asking Joey about it, just tried telling him I did what I thought a true friend ought to, but he just shook his head and kept his lips zipped. Joey's mama, though, did plenty of talking to my mama, and before long, Mama had convinced her to get their whole family into counseling. So, Joey and his mama started going, but Joey's dad would have none of it. Said it was for sissies and women. Well, come Christmas time, the sissies and women all packed up and left him. One afternoon, after a particularly loud shouting match, Mrs. Banks put Joey and Ron in the car and just left. They didn't come back that night, or the next, or the one after that. And since none of us had the nerve to ask Joey's dad where they'd gone, we just did a lot of speculating about it. She's probably gone to the Canadian border by now, Sissy said. I'd get as far away from him as I could, that's for sure. Maybe she's got a relative staying where she's at, Dad said. Mama nodded. Her mama lives near Riverdale. I bet that's where she's gone. I just sat quiet. I couldn't imagine Joey living anywhere but here. Do you suppose they'll come back? Sissy asked. I don't like the thought of living next to just him. I don't know what's going to happen, Mama said with a sigh. A man's got to be willing to face himself, and I'm afraid that one's not. It was strange living next door to only Mr. Banks. He got a big snarling dog with fangs the size of tusks that he kept chained outside. It barked at all hours and lunged at anybody who walked by. It was also strange because even though Joey and me hadn't talked in some time, him being gone made me feel extra lonesome. Like any hope of being friends again was gone. By February, I'd pretty much given up on ever seeing Joey again. But then one day after school, Mama greeted me at the door waving a paper in her hand. I got a letter from them. From Joey's mama? Yes! My heart jumped jumped clear to my throat. Where are they? Are they coming back? Is Joey all right? Mama hugged me and laughed. They're fine, least fine as they can be. They're staying with her mama just like I thought. That night, Mama wrote her back, and I wrote Joey. And for the rest of the school year, I wrote Joey every couple of weeks. I hate writing too, but it was something I did anyway. I never heard a word back from him, but Mama did hear regularly from Joey's mama, and I learned through her that Joey was still going to counseling and seemed to be doing better. Then, when the school year ended, we moved. Mom and Dad thought that it'd be good for me and my quiet brooding, and good for Sissy too. We were both having trouble finding new best friends, and they thought that it'd be good to start us fresh somewhere else. Besides, none of us were going to miss Joey's dad, especially me. He'd taken to hunting along the riverbank, which was scary enough right there. But on top of the fear of coming face to face with him, I kept having nightmares that his dog would dig up Smokey's bones. I was all for moving, boy, all for it. I liked the town we moved to. Met a kid at school who invited me over and taught me how to drive a tractor. Talk about fun! There's nothing like being in the seat of a John Deere. Except maybe sliding through mud in a frog strangling rain with Joey. Anyhow, with all my new distractions, I almost quit writing Joey. But one afternoon, I got an itch to do it. So I sat down and told him all about the boy next door and how crazy he is, climbing on the roof and a cock-a-doodle-doing every morning like a maniac rooster. I swear to Howdy he's going to try and fly someday, and when he does, I don't want to be the one to go and catch him. He's only 10, but that boy weighs about 200 pounds, maybe 3. Then, just last week, Mama came in with a letter. I could tell right off the bat it was from Joey because of the stupid stuff he doodled all over it. A dog lifting its leg, a gator eating a barn, flies buzzing all over. That right there busted me up. But what really made me smile was what he wrote on the front. Rusty Boy Cooper. I tore it open quick, and inside he wrote, Hey, you rusty boy. And I could practically see his loopy grin again. Then he said, So you think you're hot having Rooster Boy next door, huh? And went on to tell the tale of the biggest, meanest snapping turtle known to man that lives in a swamp near their house and comes out snapping and whipping its tail, chasing little kids for miles. A turtle? I wrote him back. Chasing folks? Then I scribbled in him the longest letter ever, telling him all about my new school and how I got a teacher who stinks up the place with noisy gassers and runs a goose along his bike on his way to school. Mama asked to read Joey's letter, so I let her. But when she was done, she had tears in her eyes. What's wrong, Mama? I asked her. I thought it was funnier than anything. It is, she told me. I'm just so glad to see that Joey's found himself back again. Then she gave me the kind of sweet look that only your mama can give you. And I'm mighty glad for the P.S. I was too. It was the shortest line of the entire letter, but it meant everything to me. P.S. Thanks. Mama stood up and gave me a kiss on the head. I have a feeling the two of you will always be bound no matter where you go. There's a scar on my right finger that tells me so, and a few more inside, besides. Together remind me of what a true friend is, and what a true friend ain't. And that's the end of the whole book. Isn't that crazy? I've had lots of people respond over the years when they read the story that that's the end. Can you believe that? But no matter what we do at the end of a story, whether we're completely in love with it or if we're like, what? We do this. Aww. So make sure if you do watch this video on the blog, please let me know by going, aww, in your email to me. So take care and email me, let me know, and just keep in touch. Bye.